Great. Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Erin, for the intro. Sorry we didn't trim that enough for you. It got a little funky, but it's been an awesome couple of days, and we're really excited to be here. But we're also really grateful that SoMeT put us in this time slot, because if we totally bomb up here today, you laugh at nothing, the closing party's in just like 3-4 hours, right? So hopefully none of you will remember who we are today, or tomorrow anyway, if that happens.
We hope it doesn't, though.
Yeah. So for now, I'm Blair Cook, and I'm founder and creative director at Brandscape, and this is Dr. Annette Rummel, as
Hello.
Erin said. Dr. Annie, her worship, we call her a lot of things. But we're here to talk to you a little bit today about rethinking destination marketing and how you can really all bring big change to your own destinations through just some pretty simple, quick steps that we can all do. So, as destination marketers, we've all asked ourselves the question probably at least once: what would we do if we could start absolutely from scratch? With a blank slate, a new destination, no website, no social, no marketing plan, no history of how anyone had done things before us. And I don't know, maybe even no partners or boards of directors to answer to? We can dream a little, can't we? Little Home Alone reference, but what would we do if we could do anything to market the places that we love? If we could break down those barriers to good marketing and bridge the gap between us and our stakeholders, what they think we do and what we're actually capable of. And I'm here today because I was able to help Annie and her team do exactly that, because it was a region that I grew up in and I loved. So, Annie is the CEO of Go Great Lakes Bay, as we talked about back in our home state of Pure, Michigan. And she led not only her own DMO team, but really her entire community of residents and partners and local leaders through some really big changes, not just for our own region, but we think for the entire tourism industry. So we're going to share a few of our tips and probably a lot of our struggles that we went through on that journey, and hope that you'll all join us in really reinventing how destination marketing happens. So before we get into all of that, we just want to say a quick thank you to everyone at SoMeT and Destination Think for giving us this platform to share our stories. We know and we have no delusions about why we were asked to be here today. We know that we're not the biggest destination with the biggest budget, or that we're not the biggest superstar in social media. But we feel really honored that you asked us to come and present today and talk about some of the things that you can do without endless resources, and how you can really bring that change to your own destinations regardless of your size. So we're just here to share our story, the Go Great story. And we think it's imperfect in a lot of ways, but we also hope it'll be really relatable to a lot of you.
Okay, we hope it gives you the inspiration to think about new ways to market your destination. We think it can be done in 3 big ways: make bold decisions, gain buy-in from your partners, and by earning brand ambassadors. So let's talk first about making those bold decisions. There's a little rule that I ask my team to live by, and that includes me, and that's ask forgiveness, not permission. Okay, everybody say it with me. Ask forgiveness, not permission. Okay, that sounds pretty simple, but in our industry, no matter where your destination is, no matter your budget size, no matter how your DMO is structured, there's always someone to answer to.
And we think you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find a destination anywhere, find that one unicorn that doesn't have the one stubborn board member who likes to drag their feet and kind of slow the roll of everybody down to a screeching halt, the stakeholder who just doesn't get it and constantly wants to ask, "What have you done for me lately?" Or the team member who's scared of change, stuck in their ways, and can't accept that our industry isn't the same as it was 6 weeks ago, let alone 10 years ago.
Okay, my team and I faced all these challenges and then some in the year 2010. We were definitely not the DMO we are today. Today we're a region with a purpose and proper branding, We have a national partnership with our state's Pure Michigan campaign. How many of you have seen a Pure Michigan commercial? Yay! Please
Yay.
respond to it. We have a new responsive design website. We have a unique approach to how we developed our destination and content marketing and a social media strategy, all shaping what we think the destination of a DMO organization looks like in the future. But before we were that, we were 3 separate typical DMO counties of Bay County, Midland County, and Saginaw County, each with modest budgets, outdated websites and tools, and no consistent brand. We were nowhere near where we are now as a region, but we know we still have a ways to go. And we worked to get legislation passed, to be fair. We equalized the hotel tax across 3 counties. We ensured a level playing field as for us to use in marketing our region, and we improved our tourism product by taking what was best in each of us individually and combining it into what we now believe is a world-class product. We almost tripled our budget, and we reduced overhead by over 60%. In 2009, our total sales of overnight hotels rooms was about $42 million for all 3 counties. This has been so effective that in 2014, this amount now exceeds $85 million. Okay, this was all well and good, but then came our uh-oh, now what moment.
The oh shit moment.
Now we were a region, a brand new one. We had a clean slate. So what do we do now?
And we're sure that's a question that a lot of you have about your own destinations. Where do we start? What do we do if we don't have that same squeaky clean slate to start from? And how do we even begin to think about what we could do instead of thinking about what we've always done? And as morbid as it sounds, we have one tip for that, and it's to have your entire team play the "if your CEO got hit by a bus tomorrow" game. And I know that sounds horrible.
No, wait a minute. It depends on who your CEO is.
Probably. But we think that the exercise can bring about some really strong ideas for your destination, and actually have your CEO pose that question to everyone on your team, from your front desk staff to your marketing team to your sales managers, and ask them individually and pull them aside personally to talk to them about what they would do if they were in control, if there were no partners, no boards of directors, if you had that home alone moment and you woke up and it was just you and your family, your board was gone, what they would do with that role. And it really lifts the idea ceiling and kind of takes away that idea that all leadership and all big ideas have to come from the top and trickle down, because truly they don't.
Having been invited, as an example, having been invited here to speak, I was certainly complimented, but I said, no, I can't do that, because I knew I had not earned the right to speak about and tell this story on my own. I didn't do this alone as the CEO. Blair Cook actually led this transformation effort with my support and total appreciation, and I mean that sincerely. Blair, like Cleveland, rocks. I got out of her way so that she could tell our story.
Well, thank you, Annie. But we think that doing that exercise really makes your team members feel empowered and excited to be involved in that high-level decision-making that maybe they're not normally included in. And you'd be really shocked by some of the ideas that can come from that process, and even more surprised by the people that those ideas will come from. So granted, it takes a little bit of humility on the part of your CEO.
And I would argue that it takes a CEO that's very smart and understands that if they've been smart, they've surrounded themselves with some very talented people, and to get out of the way of those people so that they can make really cool things happen.
Yeah, so if your DMO and your CEO are open to it, we think that's the best first place to start. Because we actually did the same exercise, not on purpose or not knowing that it was an exercise, but Annie called me out of the blue one day and she says, "Hi, tell me what you would do if you were in my seat tomorrow." I said, "Excuse me? What?" And she said, "No, I truly want you to tell me, what would you do from scratch? What would you do with our structure of our team? What new ideas would you bring to the table? If you had nothing holding you back, where would you take things? And I was really humbled by that and really honored by that she would ask. So really try to talk to your CEO about incorporating that brainstorming in your process.
And if they won't listen to you, have them call me. I talk to anybody.
Yeah, she'll hunt them down. So it brought out some really cool ideas that we still have in the pipeline that we haven't done yet. We're actually developing a new foundation to complement our DMO that will focus on destination development and really engineering those unique experiences and building up the product rather than just marketing what we already have, which is the whole trend and the whole point of this move toward DMMOs versus DMOs. But it also led to some things that we've already accomplished just in the last year. And so here are a few of the things that it led to. We first decided that we didn't like our old name at all, and we liked our old logo even less, so there's that. And we threw it all out the window. So we launched an entirely new regional brand and went from Michigan's Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau. Try answering the phone with that. I'm not kidding. It's horrible. And we went to Go Great Lakes Bay. And we think that's so much more powerful and memorable, and we now carry that through everything that we do as a region. So it also lent itself to a nice, simple little hashtag. Uh-oh, the remote drunk again? Okay. Yeah.
Let me try and take us.
Go back a little bit. That's okay. But it also led us to rebranding even everything down to our information centers. So formerly Michigan's Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau Visitor Information Center to Go Great Travel Tip Desks. And we're even reinventing how we have our front desk staff at those locations help our visitors. So we're going to start having them host little mini travel tip cam tours with their smartphones on Periscope and really get them out into our community and being better concierge to our guests, both in person and through social. So it also led us to developing a totally new online experience. And are our friends at Simpleview in the room anywhere? Simpleview people? Okay, wherever you are. Woo! We love you. But doing that, can you replay that, Annie?
I will.
Think it jumped ahead. Okay. So this is just a little glimpse at our new site that we worked on with Simpleview.
We're just having a little technical difficulty with that. Okay, there's our brand, in case you forgot. And here is our online presence. Simpleview, what did you say? This is one of the most referred to websites? Yay. She did it.
All right, so we weren't talking about putting lipstick on a pig.
There's the pig. There's
Get
the
it
lipstick.
out there, launch it.
Catch, ladies. Oh, see, that's your bonus for sitting in the front.
Okay, so we weren't talking about putting that lipstick on a pig by just taking our old content and our old sitemap and slapping a fresh design on it. That was not what we were in it for. We wanted to reinvent from the ground up how we help our visitors find their favorite ways to go great. And that meant that we brought over nothing. And if you had seen our old website, you would know that was a very, very good thing. But we
Actually, it was like many of the typical websites of the time. It was static, non-responsive, a lot of words, not many visuals. It was very cumbersome.
Yeah, so we wrote every word from scratch on the whole site, and we really tried to get out of our own heads and think about what it might sound like for a visitor to hear that content from a friend or someone who had traveled here before, rather than hearing it from a buttoned-up marketing firm and selling something for everyone. We really wanted to focus on our product and focus on how we talked about that product. So we also wanted to bring more personalization back to the travel planning process, and we worked with Simpleview to create tools that let our visitors pick their flavor and share their travel style to get personalized recommendations, which we think is really important. But in the same year, and we weren't kidding when we said we did absolutely everything from scratch in a year, and with only a full regional DMO team of less than 10 people and a core project team on these projects of about 2 to 3 people. So we think that that just goes to show that you don't have to have endless resources to be able to make a big impact. And we also launched a brand new content strategy. Can we go back again? I'm sorry. We also launched a brand new content strategy and our new Go Great blog. And we started sharing our signature experiences through the eyes of our locals. So I know Corinne from Cleveland did an awesome job talking yesterday about how to leverage bigger social influencers and working with outside bloggers, but we have actually worked on the other side of the coin and really gearing up with our locals to share their stories. So just one quick example, we have a gentleman who operates boating adventure tours in our region, and he calls himself, or his business name is Johnny Panther Quest.
Captain Chaos.
He calls himself Captain Chaos, and we just kind of roll with that. But he actually can navigate our 10,000-acre National Wildlife Refuge with his eyes closed in the dark, and he calls it like reading the rivers by Braille, and he loves to share his story, and he knows everything about every animal and every plant. So we just want to show those stories because that's the kind of content that you can't fake. So really find those unique people in your communities and share their stories. That's one big effort that we've made this year. So that brings us to a few more tips. We also went from being non-existent virtually on social.
Oh goodness.
Ooh.
Okay.
Getting away from us.
This is just
Okay.
not functioning. Go ahead.
That's okay. So we went from being almost non-existent on social media to really putting social to work for us. And we scaled it organically and without really any paid advertising on social, just by changing what we shared and how we shared it visually, piggybacking off of our state DMO, their Pure Michigan campaign. So we encourage you to do that with your own states if they have established followings, and really learn how to leverage their content and their fans aside from just your own. But more importantly, we focused on engaging with our customers rather than just posting at them. So don't live and die by the pressure to be a big deal overnight. We knew we didn't have a huge social following naturally, and we still don't. But we focused on doing what we knew we were great at, which is good old-fashioned hospitality and offering those services through social media to our visitors. So one example, we go down as far as you can pretty much dive into this. Even if there were a visitor in the area on vacation and their car broke down, and we see something about that on social, we'll be the ones to go on and find them a nearby auto shop and find them one with the best prices and recommend it to them. And do our boards of directors probably think this is a good spend of our time and resources to do that on that level? Not all of them, and probably not most of them, but if you can transform a negative experience for a visitor into a positive one just through simple social interaction, we think that's pretty powerful.
And we're bringing the board along to try and teach them how important that interaction is and how it will result in additional visitations in the future.
Yep, so these are just a few small examples, but with the right level of bravery and a small budget and an even smaller team, you can really make some magic happen for your destination. And so in less than a year, we made a lot of bold decisions and in not a lot of time. And we sort of feel like our journey as a new regional brand looked a lot like this.
It's our song.
No, I never felt like this before.
Whoa, wait.
Yes, I swear it's the truth.
And I hold on
Good.
to you.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You're the one that
I can't get enough of.
so I tell you something.
This could be love.
There are thousands of ways into the complex healthcare system,
I'm right.
and United Healthcare has ways to make the system simpler, like virtual doctor visits.
What happened here?
I came in too hot.
Okay, so did we come in a little too hot? Oh, yeah, we did. But we dove into the unknown and we weren't scared to fall on our faces. And we honestly kind of had to be fearless like that because we weren't just launching a new brand for an existing place. We were launching a new brand for essentially a new destination. And we were dealing with all the internal challenges at the same time. So getting our partners to play nicely together in the sandbox, and that's really Annie's domain, so I don't have to deal with that, thankfully. But We also had to get them to understand the concept behind being a regional DMO and how to work together and collaborate. But we also faced a lot of the more typical challenges that you all probably face. Board members holding the purse strings a little too tight, people who didn't even know what content marketing or social media was, let alone why we would spend money on it. So our first tip to remember when you set out to make some of these decisions in your own destinations, you can't convince or your CEO can't convince anyone else if you can't convince your CEO first. And I know that not every DMO is lucky enough to have a lady like this at the helm who really embraces her team and lifts them up before herself. But don't go to your CEO like the sky is falling and you need to throw the whole budget at it to fix it like yesterday. I mean, we did that to Annie, but I don't highly recommend it. So just really take the time to do your groundwork and show your CEO why that lipstick on a pig won't cut it. Not in this marketplace and not with the massive shift in how people are making their travel decisions. So use the materials that are already there for you. One example we love is DMAI's Destination Next program through InterVistas. And they've really given us a roadmap for our entire industry. So use that roadmap to show your CEO that whatever fun, crazy, bold ideas you have, you're not pulling them out of thin air, and they're really rooted in the vision for our whole industry and where it's headed. So one other example, you want to show your CEO that it'll take more time to evolve gradually toward the cutting edge than to just leap over it and absorb all that risk in the first place. So a DMO that went from their outdated full desktop site, and then they were kind of scared, so they took a baby step, and when destination apps were the cool thing, they developed a destination app. And then a year later, oh shoot, we need a mobile site. And then another year later, oh, we should probably have a responsive site now. DMOs that went about it that way would have invested way more time and money than if they had just been bold in the first place and kind of taken that plunge and that leap. So just make sure that you use the resources that are available to you to kind of make your case to your CEO and really set the pace and the vision for your destination.
And if anyone wants to hear about our first step, this is our bold story, ask me later about when I shifted from PCs to Apple computers. And I tried to do it slowly. I, of course, let the graphics department have it first. And then I tried to encourage some of the other staff. And I could see how resistant they were and how cumbersome that was for our organization. So one day I just had it. I walked into the office and I took a cart and I started walking around to everybody's office and unplugging their PCs and putting apples in the place of the PC. And I literally had one staff member, Lori Amo. I should have been more discreet than that. But anyway, Lori honestly took her computer and hid it under her desk, so that I would think I already picked it up. So I'm just saying, rip the Band-Aid off. Sometimes you have to be bold and make a change. You can't transition into it. And where we are in the world of technology and the speed that things are transforming, you just gotta rip the Band-Aid off. Oh, so that brings me to our second little B, and that is big destination change. One of the biggest barriers to good marketing we all face is the not so easy business of bringing your stakeholders along for the ride. Like that moment when you're feeling like you're bursting with all these big ideas and all this excitement and you can't wait to try that new thing, then you remember, oh crap, I have people to answer to. And no matter if you're a staff member or the CEO, we all have people that we are responsible answering to. But here are a few ways that you can make a little effort go a long way in getting support from whoever it is you speak to or your partners. First, whoops, that's not it. Give them a voice. Without a voice, the process partners will be way less forgiving on those occasions when it's act now, apologize later moments, forgiveness than permission. We're notorious for that. So to help our partners cope with the fact that we didn't necessarily remember to ask permission, we tap into their expertise regularly in a big and genuine way. We make them feel included, and that also makes us better marketers because, again, like asking your staff what their opinion is and how would they transform the organization, if you can get your partners engaged in that, you'll be a better marketer as well. So, a few ideas on how to make that happen. First, you have to understand where your belief system is as a DMO. We believe the DMO of the future is actually going to be a DMMO, or a destination marketing and management organization. We will be the keepers of the quality of life within the destinations that we represent. You are each already CEOs of whatever area is your responsibility. So, what does your DMO consider its future to be? And how will you contribute to that success? The second is to identify your organizational boundaries. How can you complement the efforts of other community organizations, remaining distinct but working together to advance the entire destination you represent? Third, keep in mind that with EDOs, for example, which are economic development organizations, DMOs and EDOs have shared priorities, things such as quality of life, transportation, strategic events, marketing materials, and legislative efforts, where we can come together.
And Annie was actually just recently in Alaska because she was asked to speak in front of the International Economic Development Council on this very topic, because it's so important that we work with our other community organizations to really collaborate and not duplicate efforts and be better partners to each other.
So fourth in this list of tips and ideas, look at how your governance board is set up. We have non-voting ex officio seats for our Economic Development Corporation CEOs, our county chambers of commerce, as well as elected officials. We have each of the chairs of our county commissioners that serve on our board. This is scary, and again, it's one of those bold ideas, but it helps bring all the priorities for the entire destination to the table, not just the tourism-specific ideas. This helps to create a support network for tourism economic development projects, and it keeps the lines of communication open, as well as provides fresh ideas from an outside perspective.
We're not doing so hot on time, just to forewarn you, so
We'll be fine.
bear with us, guys. We're going to speed through the rest of this.
Okay, another tip is show your partners that when you ask for their input, it actually gets translated into big picture projects, not just filed away in the bin that turns out actually to be the paper shredder, but we moved forward, and one of the tools we used, again, was Destination Next. We used it for our strategic planning process, and it helped us define, with our partners' input, our strengths and weaknesses, what they'd like us to love, leave, or mix up, which markets they see as our brightest opportunities for growth. And based on this, we leveraged the entire process on a three-legged approach: input from our partners, input from our residents, and input from our overnight visitors through a visitor profile. We hosted an event to get our information from our young professionals, because after all, it's going to be their destination, and shortly I'll be turning the baton over to another young professional, I hope. And of course, we bribed them, and how did we get them to respond? We bribed them with a really, really nice seafood, beer, and wine reception, and made them fill out the survey in advance. That was their admission ticket. So I did use a little bit of leverage. But whatever you choose to do, just keep in mind the more involved your community in the planning process, the more involved they will want to be in helping you roll out the plan. Why? Because it's their plan too.
Okay, and we're going to go turbo speed now. So final way to bring about big destination change is really through earning your brand ambassadors. So think of your brand ambassadors really as an extension of your DMO team. They're everyone from your festival organizers to your residents to your partners, and they're one of the best ways to mobilize your brand. and they're free organic PR, keyword free. So all they need from you are the tools to understand and share your brand. So our first tip from Captain Obvious up here is give them the tools. When we launched our brand, we knew we couldn't do it alone, and we needed to be thoughtful and purposeful about how we were going to share that. So we created your guide to the brand on the go. And it's a simple little pocket guide for our partners and our residents, and it's much more relaxed and an inclusive approach rather than slapping them on the wrist and telling them not how to do things. So creating this brand guide wasn't about putting a box around people who wanted to share our story. It was about giving them that box to stand on. So give your partners those tools to really help you share your story. And we're gonna skip ahead here a little bit. Our next tip is to give your partners a forum. And in talking with Rodney leading up to today, he said that one of the questions he gets most from DMOs is whether or not they should start a forum online or on social for their partners. And we think absolutely yes. We can guess what you're thinking. Our partners aren't engaged enough yet. Or what if we look stupid if no one engages with our posts or comments on them, and this whole forum is sitting out there for our partners that aren't doing anything with it? Or our partners just aren't social media savvy enough for that. And we feel your pain. We have partners that don't even have email addresses, let alone social media accounts. So we send everything to them via fax or snail mail or carrier pigeon. I mean, pretty much pick your method, and we've done it and tried it. But we took the leap of faith anyway, and we dove straight into Go Great Hospitality. And it's a Facebook community where our partners can really connect with our team. So here are a few things that we've learned since launching that you can take home to create your own partner forums. First, create realistic expectations. You can see up here, or you could have seen, how few fans we have on that page, but that's truly how we want it. The only people you want to follow that kind of partner forum are the ones that matters to most, your partners.
And if you have to talk a CEO into allowing you to launch one of these, talk to them about the benefits that also spill over into the other parts of your organization. For example, I use this as my resource when I'm planning our annual meeting, and it's all chronological and it's available to me. I also send those problem children to that location and say, look at how great the team is performing.
Yeah, and we also suggest you use it to share updates on your DMO events, especially trainings, so your partners know that you're not just buying them a new CRM or a new tool to use and throwing it at them and hoping they'll figure out how to float on their own, that you're actually giving them the support to use those tools. Second, we really suggest that you use it to recognize your partners. So a restaurant chef that wins a cooking competition, or a hotel that does a gorgeous renovation or wins an award for their customer loyalty program. It gives that pat on the back to the partners that really deserve it, and hopefully lights a fire under the ones who could stand to be better in some of those same areas. And finally, and most importantly, use it to share what your own DMO team is up to. It's one of the best ways to gain partner buy-in and to put in front of their faces really how hard your team is working. And it answers that little "what has my DMO done for me lately" question before it ever really has to be asked. And it honestly just feels good when that one pesky problem child partner, I know you all have them, sees that while they were wondering what you've done for them lately, your CEO took her only vacation that she had scheduled in like 5 years, and was up at the crack of dawn on a Sunday on a sailboat in the freezing cold to host some travel writers or a film crew.
But the same thing can be said about the entire team that I have. I would encourage, if there are CEOs in the audience today, please don't be modest when it comes to bragging about your team. We all work countless hours, and we do what's best for our destination. A little acknowledgement goes a long way to make your team feel important and empowered. But starting a social media community for our partners isn't a cure-all either. We need to support the face-to-face moments where your partners feel like they're heard and appreciated. So with things like our Go Great Hospitality community and our unique board structure, we started to hope for better communication and ended up with something so powerful Just by using the tips that we shared with you today, we have recently been chosen as a finalist for the Best Citizen Engagement in the International City Nation Place Awards. And this is alongside much larger destinations than we are, like Ireland, London, and South Africa. And it was just because we dared to try our own new way of sharing our brand and making our partners and residents part of it. So, as we leave SoMeT tomorrow and head back to our own destinations and teams, full of inspiration, gumbo, and the free refreshments from tonight's closing party, we hope that you take a few of our tips back home with you. Be bold. Trade some of those safe ideas for some fresh, wild ones, and have fun doing it. Find new ways of encouraging and engaging with your partners, and give your locals the tools and inspiration to become even better fans of your brand. And last, never, ever be afraid to come in a little too hot when it comes to transforming your destination. On behalf of Blair and myself, thank you for letting us address you this afternoon, and we'd be happy to address any questions you have. Thank you.